Get the boat gassed up, saunter down to the dock. Put the Yeti in the back and she's ready to rock. It's a May River thing. It's a May River thing. It's a May River thing. Got the whole family down here. It's a May River thing.
Hey, it's Tim Wu with Lowcountry Chronicle. Been a hot minute since you've seen me doing one of these LowChron videos, but we're very excited to get back into this as we head into the new year. And we've got a couple of great holiday specials, special interviews to share with you. A couple stories that I actually did interviews for the Bluffton Sun. So you want to check out the stories in the Bluffton Sun. This first one is all about a gentleman who is carrying on a third generation of these just spectacular Bethlehem villages meant to celebrate the birth of baby Jesus. And it's something that started in his family with his grandfather, carried on to his father, and now it's something that Joe Dastoli has taken on. We want to share that story with you. Hope you enjoy it. And again, you have stories to tell, you have good news to get out there, events that you want to promote, let me know. We'll have the email in the comments section of the video, and hope you all have a wonderful holiday, and hope you really enjoy this story with Joe Dastoli.
So I started with this section first, and I kind of wanted to give something coming out of the mountains in the background. You can see I have Roman soldiers here. Also down on the lower level, something coming from here. Then what I did is I went out and found some materials, natural materials that looked like it could be a vineyard. And of course, if you have a vineyard, you need a place to make the wine.
Is this all your work here? This?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That almost looks like
Stone or rock or
yeah, exactly. Like I'm trying to think of the word the oyster mix.
Right.
Yeah. That's gorgeous. Wow.
And then I did some research on back in the time of Christ, how they made the wine, and they would put the grapes inside of a tub, and a person would climb inside there. They would grab onto the upper part here,
Yep.
and just smash the grapes, and that would go into buckets.
Okay.
And then from the buckets, they would put it into the vases that would be shipped.
That's kind of what you see nowadays when you're taking a tour. When they let you smash the grapes with your feet, right?
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Then my next thing that I made was a bakery.
The detail on these is just and the buildings.
Now the roofs are made out of cardboard. If you rip the cardboard apart, you have the inner part of the cardboard.
But you made it look so realistic, weathered and everything. My goodness.
Then I went down to this portion here, and I wanted to try to get something that maybe looked like the ruins of a Roman temple or a Greek temple.
Yeah, like something like Pompeii or yeah.
Yeah, and tried to do it where it was would have been much older than this particular town was, and I tried to put it that some of the blocks had been fallen off.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Then I made the actual part where I knew I wanted the Holy Family to be, the manger part.
Yep. That is just
Now all of the doors on here were made from popsicle sticks. Yeah. I then expanded the houses. This was just a little house that I knew I had this figure from my grandfather, the washwoman, and I wanted to feature her there.
Okay.
Then I went to another house. I wanted to do that a little bit differently with a 2-level.
Right.
Then from there, we need a fruit and vegetable stand, and I knew I had several different figures that could fit into there, and all of those fruits and vegetables are all handmade or seeds that I found outside and repainted. Then
is that the zucchini box you were talking about?
yeah,
that your grandson did?
in fact, I have a picture of him here making the zucchini box.
Oh, that's great. Another generation.
Another generation. Hopefully, another 30 years from now, he'll get the bug. Then I had to make a transition from the upper tier down to the lower tier, and my wife gave me the idea of, what you need here is, because you're half a fisherman, is you need to do something where you have like a bridge and some water coming.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I did, and I put a few fish in there swimming around.
Sure.
Then up here I have just a spot that could have been like a little farm area. And then we did where we have the shepherds with their flock.
Mm-hmm.
And then I put my water feature in, as my grandfather did back in the 1930s and 50s, and my father did back in the 1980s up to the early 1990s.
Wow.
And this is basically just a little motor.
Yep.
That I have attached underneath, and
Little loop of
a
water.
little loop of water with some tubing.
Wow.
Then you can. What I wanted to show you is we have 3 different types of figures here. We have one from the 1930s.
Okay.
And the ones from the 1930s, you can see how they're dressed like Italian peasants.
Yes.
Because when my grandfather would do this, set it up in Italy before he came to America, and then once he came to America, they did it in a village. Even though it was of the Holy Family, it was of an Italian village from the 1800s.
Okay.
So you can see how they're dressed. Some of these shepherds here.
These are all the ones from the 30s?
These are the ones from the 30s and the 1950s.
Wow.
And you can see that even over here, the bakers are dressed like that.
Sure. Yep.
Now, about 10 years ago, my wife and I were vacationing in Sicily, Italy, and I happened to come upon, in one of these small villages, a fella who manufactured these figures, but he went one step further, and he not only made the terracotta bodies, but his wife would dress it in fabrics. And these are called stoffa.
Wow, like you can, I mean...
Isn't that incredible?
That is actual fabric.
Yeah, I was so blown away that I just had to get these. He sent me about 40 figures. You can see the camels.
Yeah.
How
Yep.
intricate they are. And these are all figures from
That's
here.
a caravan camel.
Yes, I tried to put all of his on the bottom row here.
Yeah.
I mixed a few
Full
in.
of figures, like you said.
Yeah.
They're eating better.
I have over 80 figures total.
Wow.
Now, my grandfather's figures, the ones that date back to 1930, this is the condition I found them in. They were in my mother's cellar after my father passed away.
Wow. Okay.
And this is now how
What you've restored them to.
I restored it to.
Oh, wow. That's fantastic.
And here's just some others. I didn't keep pictures of all of them, but
Sure.
but you can see how there were legs missing, there were arms missing, and I had to. So there were probably about 20 figures that I had to restore.
So you're a surgeon as well.
I guess so. Yeah, believe me, you wouldn't want surgery from me. This is, this is my first attempt at this. My father, after my grandfather stopped putting up the presepio, what they call it in Italian, my father started it about 30 years after my grandfather had stopped doing it. And it's around 30 years, a little over 30 years, before my father stopped making it, and now I'm doing this. And even though I've had the figures for several years, it wasn't until I retired at the end of the year that I felt I had the time to take on a project like this.
The detail in every single one of these figures is just stunning. And honestly, the detail that you put into the landscape, the hardscapes and the landscaping is just, it's magnificent.
Thank you. Now, traditionally, we set this up with the figures, except for Jesus. We usually set it up during the Immaculate Conception, which is December 8th.
Yep.
Then Christmas Eve, the tradition was to put the baby Jesus out, and would keep it there until the Epiphany, when the wise men came. And then after that, my grandfather would put it away, but my father would keep his up until Easter. And I think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to keep it up until Easter, because there's been quite a few people, at least from the neighborhood, who have come around, and they're amazed at how detailed it is.
It truly is. It's you can truly tell, sir, that it's a labor of love. Because,
Well, it is. Yeah. It's a tribute to my grandfather.
Absolutely. We spoke about it on the phone.
Yeah.
But can you go into that a little bit in terms of how this all began?
Yeah, he was born in 1903. I'm named after him, Joseph. And after World War I, things were pretty desperate down in southern Italy. He comes from a town called Philadelphia, Calabria, Philadelphia with an F. And at the age of 18, his father had passed away, and his older brother said, "There's nothing for you down here." So he packed a bag, a few lira, got him a passage on a steamship, and came to America, not knowing anyone. He settled in Brooklyn. There he was a silversmith and pewter worker, because his father in Italy was the town blacksmith. So I guess he kind of knew how to do a little bit.
Right.
During the Depression, it was tough for him to make a living, so what he ended up doing is he started working in wrought iron to make decorative wrought iron fences and gates. In 1932, he moved to Stamford, Connecticut, with his wife and a couple children, my father being one of them, and now had the room, because he in Brooklyn, he was in a small rental. He now had the room to now make this presepio, and his presepio he made from 1932 to 1954. Now, in 1954, it was featured in the Town Advocate, the Stamford Connecticut Advocate, December 28th, 1954, with a little 4-year-old grandson who happens to be me. And believe it or not, I remember that. Yeah.
One of your first memories.
It was
probably,
one of my
right?
first memories, yeah. And then after that, he just stopped doing it. Not sure why. But then my father got the bug, and when he retired in the mid-60s, he then had the time to do his version of it. And the Stanford Advocate again did a feature story with my father. And my father went into more detail of pretty much the history of it, which I didn't know at the time.
Mm-hmm. That's fantastic. Now,
Yeah.
how much of the obviously some of the figurines are from the 30s. Is
Yeah.
any of the hardscapes from his original, or
No,
is this all you?
It's all me. Nothing survived.
Wow, Joe.
Yeah, nothing survived from there.
This is all you. My
Yeah.
goodness. This is just, I mean, is this informed by your time in Sicily? Or is this all research that you've done as well?
It's a lot of research that I did, but then when I was in Italy, I got a lot of ideas from the artisan that was making the Stoffa ones.
Yeah.
Brilliantino was the name of his studio, and he saw how much interest I had, and he brought me into his back room in Sicily, and he had a setup that was probably maybe 4 by 10 or 12 feet.
Yep.
But the figures that he was using weren't the 3-inch figures.
Okay.
The figures that he did his were 6-inch figures, maybe 8-inch figures, and half of them were automated. Where you had the blacksmith, his arm was actually...
Okay, yeah.
The washwoman, her arms were actually washing.
Okay, so now I asked you this yesterday. This might be the next step.
Well, I think the next... Well, I think I'll have to hire an
I'm not putting you on record.
I'll have to hire an electrician,
Yeah.
so I don't want to burn the house down.
Sure.
But I think next year what I want to try to do is get some of the houses illuminated. Because my father, I remember my father did that with his setup.
Yep.
I tried to get ready for that.
Yep.
Where I hollowed out.
You had some hollowed out space in there.
Hollowed out space
Yep.
in there, but I have to find the right kind of lights, candles that are bright enough that you, if I turn the light off, you can see them shining through. So that's what I have in mind for next year. I also want to try to get more vegetation. My grandfather used to actually go out and pick moss, and used to have his grasses instead of the way I have mine, which are more painted and have some type of a crumbled material on
Yep.
them. He had real moss. However, with the real moss, you have to spray it every day or it dies.
Yeah, spray it, plus it attracts the bugs too.
Exactly. So jury's out on that, but
Yeah.
I might try it just here where I have the shepherds, and,
Right.
and see if I can get away with that. But
As you were doing this, Joe, this has to just... I gotta imagine as you're doing this, you were tearing up a little bit, because this is like a direct connection.
It is.
To your father and your grandfather.
it is. Yeah, I was, because I was my grandfather's namesake. I think I was the special grandchild, and he taught me a lot. He taught me a lot. So he was a very kind, gentle guy.
This is amazing work.
Thank you.
And you think maybe probably 200 hours worth, you'd say?
I think so. I did it off and on for about 9 months or so.
Yep.
An hour here, 2 hours there, and I tried to think back, each week how many hours, and I think it came to somewhere over 200 hours of work.
I mean, I've seen efforts before, and not to besmirch anybody else's efforts, but the amount of detail here is just absolutely mind-blowing. Like just the attention to every little part of this display. It's really spectacular.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I also made from modeling clay a lot of the urns.
Yeah. Wow. What's the message that folks, why was this such a tradition? What's the message that folks wanted to convey with this?
It started in the 1300s in Italy, and it seemed to spread more towards the south of Italy than the northern part, and it was just Italian cities and towns back then during the Christmas time. They would have their parades and they would have their statues and the churches would be decorated. And it just evolved that almost every single city, especially in the Naples area and down in Calabria, where my grandparents were born.
I noticed
and
the Calabria
yes,
map on the
right.
wall there. Yeah.
Well, here, this is, I'm going to show you right about here is where Philadelphia, Calabria is. And they do it to today. It's still done.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's still done.
Y'all for joining us here on a special edition of Lowcountry Chronicle, and invite you to get back into the May River thing.
It's a May River thing.
There we go. Sign up, join us on the Substack, on subscribe on YouTube, and then join us on Facebook. And we'll be, like I told you, we'll be back after the new year with some more editions of Lowcountry Chronicle. And you can always see me on the What's Happening in Bluffton Facebook group. So for now, Tim Wood, have yourself a wonderful, wonderful holiday season. And we will be back with you to start the new year with some very exciting videos.